first rule of really effective, supportive listening, if a young person chooses to talk to you about something challenging, is that we need to listen with a view to understanding what they have to say. We shouldn't be thinking about what are we going to say next. We shouldn't be thinking about interpreting what they're saying and laying our own emotion over the top. We shouldn't be even thinking about giving advice or any of those things. We're just listening in the first instance to understand what they have to say. So we are looking to be wholly present in this moment, not thinking about anything else, but rather just focused in on this young person right now. You don't need to do this for huge lengths of time. Lots and lots of my research has shown me that really focusing in on a young person and really listening to them for even just a few minutes can make a huge difference to them. And sometimes young people will tell me about how there have been moments in their life when things began to change, and sometimes will have been the result of a 5-minute conversation with someone who really took time to hear them. So try to create an environment where a child feels heard. It's important that we give them space to tell their story. So we're the ones listening, they're the ones talking as far as possible. It can be tempting if you've worked with children for a long time and maybe a young person starts to open up to you about something and you think, I've heard something like this before. Sometimes we kind of assume or we guess what might be coming next. But the problem with that is if we try to fill the gaps, either in our head or out loud, then it can mean that either we don't physically hear what the young person has to say or we don't interpret it correctly. And sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we will assume that we know what's going on with the child and actually the thing they want to talk to us about is something different. It might be that they're known to you for having a particular vulnerability or difficulty, but on this day something different has happened. When we fill in the gaps for them, we disempower them from actually telling us what the gaps were meant to be filled with if we didn't get it right. Try to suspend all judgment if you can. When I talk to children and young people, the thing that they're most fearful about when opening up to you is that you're going to judge them. And mostly you won't, but they need to know this. And actually it can be really helpful to say this out loud. Say, there's nothing that you can tell me that's going to make me respect you any less. Or there's nothing that you can tell me that will make me care about you any less. Or like you any less. You find the words that really reflect the relationship that you have with the child and that feel appropriate. But they need to know that they can talk to you in confidence, knowing that you're going to listen, you're going to support them, and how you feel about them isn't going to change as a result of what they're going to say. And then finally, like the most helpful tip for listening, I think that I've ever learned, is to make use of the silences. Silences feel really awkward. We hate silences. So as soon as there is a silence in a conversation, we jump in and we fill it up. Try it out when you're having a conversation with someone. Just see, if you go quiet for a moment, they will jump in. Now, the thing is that when you're supporting a child who's perhaps opening up to you about something difficult, if you don't jump in, then hopefully they will. And that encourages them to keep telling the story in their words. The other thing to remember is that sometimes when it feels super quiet and awkward for you, this is a time when things are really loud for the child. Not literally, but metaphorically. They might have a lot of noise going on in their head. There's lots and lots and lots of different stuff going on here. They might be worrying about what you're going to say next. They might be trying to physically find the words for what they have to say. They might never have said this before. They're going to have lots and lots of different difficulties going on, maybe lots of negative self-talk, all sorts of things. And sometimes they just need a little bit of time, a little bit of quiet to let that jumble sort itself out, to work their way through that noise in order to say the next thing. So allow the silences to happen. A top tip here is to actually physically say to yourself, I'm going to allow a minute to pass without me speaking. And that gives you a bit of a focus and you can literally watch it happening if you've got a watch or some way of telling the time. It's a really long time. And if you say to yourself, I'm going to let there be quiet, you'll probably manage about 10 seconds. But if you say, right, I'm going to allow a minute, then you will allow that minute and hopefully then the child gets more ready to speak. If you've allowed some time to pass and you think the child really isn't going to speak, actually then a good thing to say to them is something along the lines of, would you like me to speak now, or are you happy for us to sit in quiet a little bit longer? Or something, actually ask them. But yeah, try not to be scared of silence. It's the therapist's best tool in their toolbox. Therapists spend a lot of time being quiet, waiting for their clients, their patients, to fill the gaps instead of them. It's their superpower. Make it yours. So a really good question to go away and reflect on here to help you think about how you can be a really good listener is, if you reflect on a time When you felt really heard by someone, when perhaps you were worried about something and you opened up to someone and they did a really brilliant job. What did they do? What made you feel so heard and so understood in that moment? And is there anything that you can learn from that? Perhaps you're a bit worried that you can't get the child talking and you want them to do more of the conversation than you. So we can be using our open questions. So any question that doesn't need a 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, no, closed kind of response, where actually it requires a sentence in response. But there are also specific phrases that might really help. My favourite is, can you tell me more about that? So when a child talks to you, even if they've said very little, then we are interested and curious, genuinely be interested and curious. That's interesting. Can you tell me more about that? And that gives them the opportunity then to build on what they've said. What we're looking to do here is to create an environment where the child is creating the conversation so that this is told in their words and they are sharing it with us rather than us trying to fill those gaps in for them. If you found this video helpful, you might be interested to learn more about YouCan. YouCan is our new, ever-growing, on-demand video CPD service for schools. Each course is made up of a series of modules just like the one you've just watched. Each module is designed to be highly practical with ideas that you can use right away. We're growing our library of courses every week to meet the demands of our subscribers. There's a huge wealth of training that you and your colleagues will be able to access if your school subscribes. Our short, practical videos make it easy and enjoyable to learn, so you can do anything you set your mind to.